Ivanovska, and I'm a PhD student at the University of Ljubljana, and I am a representative of the Macedonian Scientific Society for Autism. Today, I am honored to be your moderator. We have a very exciting program ahead. We have some presentations and discussions, and I would like to thank you all for joining us today. Before we start, I'd like to go over just a few important things to make sure that everyone has a good experience. First, I would like to please ask you to keep your microphones and your cameras off during the presentations. If you have any questions while a presentation is ongoing, feel free to type them in the chat. Otherwise, you will have you will have a chance to ask them live during the Q&A session. You can raise your hand using the option in Zoom, and you can join the discussion. Please note that this session is being recorded, and photos will be shared on our social media platforms. So once again, please just make sure that you turn off your microphones and your cameras at the start. I'd like to shortly present the agenda. If we could share it. While we're waiting for the share screen, once again, thank you for joining today's event. Here is the agenda. The conference will run for 2 hours approximately, and it will follow this schedule. We will begin with a presentation by Ivana Vasilevska Petrovska, and she will present about the overview of the ISEC-ADE project and the key results. Then we'll move on to a presentation by Angeliki Giannakopoulou for a mindful adoption of AI and the role of educators from the AI for AII project. Then we're going to move on to the presentation of the program for people with disabilities aimed at integration into the job market by Dr. Iatrou Georgios. And then we're going to move on to the trainer's reflection from the TOT program in Cyprus from Eleftheria Stergiou. And we'll have a moderated discussion in the end from panelists that are representatives as part of the project. And finally, we'll finish with closing remarks and certificates. As you can see, we have a very interesting agenda prepared for you. We're excited to have such distinguished lineup of speakers, and we really are looking forward to hear from you too. You will have a chance to ask questions, like I said, and we would love to hear your input in the discussion. Now, before we start with the official agenda, we can start with a bit of an interactive activity, just to get to know each other better and see what our expectations are. We are going to be using Mentimeter for this activity. So please open the Mentimeter website on your device. You can also scan the QR code that is displayed on the top right of the screen. We have just a few quick questions for you. Once again, I think that you can join either by typing the code. I think that the code is covered at the moment from the Zoom pop-up. Maybe we could move it to the bottom just so people can have that option. Okay, perfect. So you can see the code at the top. It is 1576 6990. Or as I said, you can scan the QR code. Okay, already we're getting some answers that are starting to come in. I hope that you are finding this okay, that you can join it. We see that people are feeling very excited, quite curious. Some of you are tired. It is a bit early in the morning, but a lot of you are feeling great. All of you are excited to start the conference, enthusiastic. We're great to see. It's really amazing to see that. I think I saw a sleepy, a couple of sleepies, a hungry there. We hope that the program will be interesting enough to keep you engaged. And a lot of you are once again feeling great. We're getting good answers coming in. That's great to hear. I hope that your good mood is maintained throughout the conference. I think that we could maybe move on to the next question, if that's okay. Okay, so most of you are really feeling excited and happy and good. Those are the most common answers we have here. Okay, so moving on to the next question, which is, which of the following best describes your role? We'd like to sort of get to know our audience today, see what profile of people we have, so you can just select, I think it's multiple choice. If you're a teacher, a special educator, a parent, or a guardian, a psychologist, a therapist, a school counselor, an administrator, or other. As we can see just from the start, we have the most teachers, I think by far. We also have quite a few special educators, a few psychologists, even more teachers. I think that predominantly most of our audience today is teachers, and that is great to see. We hope that we'll present some tools and things that will be useful for you. We have quite a few other profiles. So we do have some of the other profiles. That's excellent. However, I see that still most of our audience today is teachers. Okay, I think that we could perhaps move on to the next one. We're getting some answers in the chat too. And in the chat, most of the people seem to be teachers again. I think that the second most represented profile is the special educators, which is great to see, but we do appreciate everyone from all of the different profiles that have joined today. We are getting some more profiles in the chat. It's so great to hear this. We have quite a diverse group today. I think that maybe we could switch to the final question, if that's fine. And finally, we would like to ask you, what is one thing that you hope to learn or gain from the conference today? We sort of would just like to start by seeing what your expectations are. We are getting some responses already. So there are some tools, some ideas. A lot of you are hoping to network, to gain some skills or useful knowledge, once again, we're getting most ideas, I would say, but some new information, maybe some work improvement, to get some help. And that would be great. You could have, once again, you will have a chance to ask questions if there is anything you would like to know in particular, to get some insights, to get, once again, information. I did see inclusion written down, and that's quite interesting. To get lots of skills, deeper knowledge, a lot of knowledge. We have some answers in the chat too, to get some new ideas, work improvements, new methods perhaps, to get new tools, new approaches. This all sounds really great. I think that we have some expectations now, and we hope that our agenda today will be able to answer to most, if not all of these expectations. I think that was a very fun exercise. I hope you're all feeling ready to start the program. Our first speaker today is Ivana Vasilevska Petrovska. She's the president of the Autism Institute in Skopje, and will present on the opening remark on the overview of the project, which is the accessible digital education for students with autism and intellectual disabilities, innovative solutions and enhancements of educators' competencies. After the presentation, we will have time for questions if you want to ask them live, so feel free to raise your hand. But while the presentation is going on, I would like to ask you once again not to interrupt and to maybe type your questions in the chat if that works better for you. The floor is yours. You may start with the presentation.
Thank you, Andrea. I hope you can hear me and see me well. I have shared my presentation.
Yes, I can see.
Is everything okay?
Yes, we can see the presentation. Just once again, if you could please just turn off your microphone so we're not interrupting the presentation. Thank you.
I'd like to say first that I'm very excited to have this opportunity to present our work in front of such a enthusiastic and quite a large number of audience. I'm hoping that you will receive useful information that you can use to improve your everyday practice and improve the quality of education for students with autism in general. The ISEC-ADE project was about creating accessible digital education for learners with autism and intellectual disabilities by offering innovative solutions and enhancement of educators' competences. I will now start my presentation, if the computer allows me. Okay. For those that don't really know me, I would like to first share my roles currently. I have a background in special education and rehabilitation in autism and intellectual disabilities. I work as an expert associate at the Idnina Special Primary School with Resource Center in training and coordination. I am the president of Autism Institute Skopje, as Andrea mentioned, and also a PhD candidate at the doctoral school of St. Cyril and Methodius University in Skopje at the Faculty of Philosophy, Institute of Pedagogy, and I am currently, I have a lecturer role there in the undergraduate studies in pedagogy at the same institute. So in my presentation today, I would like to share with you some introduction about our work, the motivation behind the project, the methodology that we used, and the key results that were accomplished, and of course, some conclusive notes and future directions. So the ISEC-ADE project seeks to bridge the digital divide in education for learners with autism and intellectual disabilities by providing innovative solutions, and also an important component was enhancing the skills of educators. We were trying to establish, and I think we successfully established, an accessible digital infrastructure. This is tools for learning, along with methodological guidelines for developing high-quality educational opportunities for learners with autism and intellectual disabilities. So what is the motivation behind this project? We were all aware of the digital divide in the education, where when it comes to learners with autism and intellectual disabilities, we had the experience As you all know, during the COVID-19 pandemic, when education became mostly an online activity, and most of the learners experienced segregation and limited access throughout Europe. This was not just in our region, but all over Europe. This was especially severe for people with invisible disability. This is the cognitive diversity, where autism and intellectual disabilities fall to. This diverse cognitive styles and sensory profiles of learners with autism and ID mean that there are various dimensions of accessibility for these learners. It's not just the physical accessibility, but accessibility means much more when it comes to different cognitive styles and sensory profiles. Regarding the methodology behind this project, we started with the focus groups and a needs assessment. This was a participatory inquiry where we identified obstacles in digital education and also the specific needs of learners and educators as well, which was the foundation for the design of digital tools and the methodological guidelines. We conducted 10 focus group interviews from April to May 2022 with representative groups of 60 educators, parents, and learners with autism and intellectual disabilities. You can see on this graph here that our group was 46%, almost 47% educators, similarly parents, and also 10% of learners, because we felt that it's very important to include the users of the digital tools to get to know their needs and the requirements that are unique to this group of learners. Here on this graph, you can see the distribution of the themes that we identified in the focus group discussions based on their frequency. So participants mostly discussed the topic that was most discussed was accessibility, issues around accessibility to digital content and digital tools. Then the quality personalized digital content, which was very important to our participants. Next, the technological infrastructure and availability, which in many cases was lacking. And but at the same time, people recognize the advantages of digital education. And also a very important theme was acceptability and cultural relevance of the tools that are already present and accessible. Next, in the methodology, we investigated best practices. This refers to the desk research analysis, where we analyzed current digital solutions and educational methodologies at both the national and international levels. We consulted the international standards for the web content accessibility, or the web content accessibility guidelines, and also the principles of the plain language movement. And from there, we formulated recommendations that incorporate autism and intellectual disability teaching methodologies with the essential principles of the Universal Design for Learning, or UDL. This research or publication that is available on our website provided 6 general recommendations for developing content for digital education. First is personalization based on learner sensory and cognitive profiles. So accessibility for autism and intellectual disabilities, first of all, means personalization. Next, there is a need to, or a recommendation to provide diverse methods of conveying information, and to provide personalized feedback and error identification in the learning process using digital tools. Then the 4th recommendation is about offering various methods for engaging with the content. capability to track learner progress data, and providing technical and methodological guidelines for educators. These were the general recommendation, but the focus group discussion report also provides a specific, more comprehensive recommendation regarding digital content that concern the 3 domains of accessibility for educational materials, as I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, which includes physical, but also intellectual and social accessibility. This report contains really comprehensive information and a lot of interesting data from our focus groups and the desk research that I think that many of you will find useful. It is useful not only for teachers as creators of digital content, but also for developers and software designers to guide them in creating accessible digital learning opportunities. This can be downloaded is available for everyone on the ISEC-ADE.eu website. What are the key outputs of this project? So we have developed the Teach Space and Teach Hub applications, then the methodological guidelines, and finally a training program for teachers. TeachSpace is a digital platform for developing accessible educational resources for autism and intellectual disabilities, while Teach Hub is a sharing and exchange platform for resources created with TeachSpace. These were developed by the Autism Institute team in accordance with the recommendations outlined in the established methodology of this project. Here, I would like to just briefly go through some functionalities, the highlights of our tools, but you can find more information on the website and also in the methodological guidelines that I will present soon. TeachSpace provides engagement with the drag-and-drop functionality in addition to the traditional ways of interacting with digital content. It facilitates the customization of prompting, the intensity of prompting, and also provides errorless feedback. Customization of feedback is also possible. So in addition to errorless, there are also different options for feedback and customization so that it aligns with the interest and the needs of each user. There are also components of gamification included, and a very useful feature is the automated reports of the attained success of the learner. Teach Hub, on the other hand, provides an incentive framework for teachers or therapists, different profiles of users, even parents as well. The incentive framework is based around different badges and certificates for educators that reflect the competency framework established by the European Commission. This is the digital competence framework for educators. When teachers or users reach a certain milestone, they receive a certificate directly in their inbox, and also a badge is available on their profile and is visible to everyone on the hub. There is a segment devoted to resources for professional development in the Teach Hub, and we would love to post your ideas and information about your work and experiences in the practice. So if there is something that you would like to share with the community of teachers, you can contact us via the contact form on the website, and we will post information about your activities on this hub. These are some examples of the certificates of achievement. There are 6 different proficiency levels, starting from beginner all the way through a pioneer, and there are different certificates for each proficiency level that go straight to your inbox as soon as you reach that milestone. The next key output is the methodological guidelines, or the handbook for accessible and quality digital education for learners with autism and intellectual disabilities, where you can find very comprehensive information about pedagogical strategies, but also technical guidelines for how to use the TeachSpace and TeachHub application. If you are new to these tools and you want to start using them, you can start by downloading this methodological guideline, this handbook, where you can use various links and video tutorials to get started with using these tools. In the methodological guidelines, we included some instructions how to use these applications to enhance the student motivation, to address challenging behaviors, and to support the academic, communication, and social skills of learners. And finally, the fourth key output or the result of this project is a 4-day training program, a professional development program, which was initiated as a training of trainers tailored for educators, special education professionals, educational assistants, and other individuals engaged in supporting learners with autism and intellectual disabilities. The goal of this program is to enhance their preparedness, their competences, to develop accessible digital education by equipping them with knowledge, skills, and tools to enrich learning experiences and address the diverse needs of learners. We are in the final stages of the project. We are finishing up at the end of this year. And I would say we already have a substantial impact on the educational community with more than 300 registered users in the TeachSpace and TeachHub applications and over 30 trained trainers, which then in turn trained already around 200 trained educators. These local trainings are still ongoing, and this number will grow in the future. And also, of course, there is the potential for continuous development of this training program and reaching even a larger number of teachers. To further enhance this impact and to deliver quality educational experiences for our learners, a collaboration with all stakeholders is essential. And as a team, we are prepared and enthusiastic to continue this collaboration and to expand and further develop these tools and resources. We feel that it is essential to offer the necessary support for educators in the process on an international level to enhance so that we can enhance the accessibility of quality education for learners with autism and intellectual disabilities. Thank you for your attention, and I'm inviting you to learn more about the project on ISEC-ADE.eu website.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It was really a comprehensive overview of many different aspects of the project, and it really is, well, at least I feel so, important work that we're doing here, and I hope that we get to continue it in the future and we get some support. I don't think there were any questions in the chat. There was a question about if this conference will be in English, and yes, today the agenda is in English. This is the final conference of the project. We have presenters and participants from different countries, so the agenda is in English. And if anybody else has a question that is related to this presentation, you can feel free to raise your hand in Zoom to join live. And if not, I don't see anybody, then I think we could move further with the agenda. Our next speaker is Angeliki Giannakopoulou, the Policy and Project Coordinator at the European Association for the Educators of Adults, who will present on for a mindful adoption of AI and the role of educators from the AI4 AI ERASMUS project.
Good morning, everybody, and good morning, Andrea. Thank you for the introduction. Hi to some really familiar faces. I'm really happy to be here today and see the amazing work that you have all done, and hopefully I can give you a bit of an insight of what we're doing here at the European Association for the Education of Adults that might be relevant to the work that you do, especially towards teachers training, because that's the adult education component. Let's say that it's more evident in your project as well. So I would like to share my presentation now, and hopefully you can see it. Let's see. Yeah, hopefully everybody can see it. So, yeah, as Andrea already introduced, we're going to discuss the AI for Adult Learning project, and more specifically in this instance, its element of how can we mindfully adopt AI so that our educators are able to navigate this new field, but also how we can find ways to represent the misrepresented groups of learners that we're working with in this new context. So why AI in adult education, why AI in training of the trainers, and why AI through a mindful and well-informed adoption. So the first very important thing that we've seen works really well is first to improve skills assessment, and secondly, to encourage critical and informed participation in technological developments. So on the field of improved skills assessment, we have seen that AI can help us a lot to then create tailor-made learning opportunities. And I think that's quite relevant to what we just heard about from the recommendations about how important it is to provide personalized content. So already we see a bit of a link. On the part of the critical and informed participation of both educators and our learners in this new field of AI in education, it is really important that we start getting a stance toward co-creation, and that's really important. We will see it a bit later on in order to have more representative data that's actually tailored to the needs of our users, especially if we're talking about users with cognitive impairments, autism, or ADHD, which is something that we actually saw in our survey and research, and to provide this platform for more inclusive data sets, which of course will help us claim our space in this new technological environment. So, of course, all of that were not information that we all thought like the blink of an eye. 5 people sitting on a table. We really had amazing help from educators. Initially, we had 60 educators from around Europe that took part in the synchronous and asynchronous first steps of the project to help the AI for All team identify these experiences, fears, and opportunities of AI in adult learning. But then currently more than an additional 180 educators have already registered to test and shape the AI for All tools. We will get to which are those tools, and we will get how you could have access to them. But here it is very important to say that as we are the processors of the data, and sometimes sensitive data, of the people we are working with, of the learners, it is really important that this is more of a closed experience. So there are some steps in case you want to try out the tools that you have to go through, and also sign a data processing agreement. So this is why it seems like it's a bit more exclusive, but it's really open to everybody. We just really need to protect the data of our users, both educators and learners. So from these AI for All focus groups, the beta trainings, and the survey that we carried out, we found some really key elements that came up again and again from the statements of our users and our participants. The first one that's really important for us: what is the space that AI could occupy in the adult learning and teachers training sector? In there, we saw that most people could see it as a way to assist learners in discussing and reflecting on what they learned, to enhance personal contact when that's not possible in more traditional settings, to identify and see gaps in pre-existing knowledge, and offer new ways for educators to perform. We also discussed the importance of finding complementary yet intuitive ways to integrate AI in learning platforms. And in that, it is very important that the way the group of learners and educators interact is more important than the content submitted in the AI. This means to enhance this little word, the complementarity ways of the ways that we integrate AI into our learning platforms, because it is really important to understand that AI is something that we have complementary to the traditional learning experiences, or to the face-to-face contact, or to other ways and other methods of engaging with our learners. It's not something that will completely occupy all the space, but it is something that can help us enhance this relationship between learner and educator. It is also really important for us to keep a focus on supporting educators with repetitive and time-consuming tasks. We've seen that educators use already AI a lot to minimize their workload, so that they can spend more time focusing on the human aspect of the learning process, and to do that in a more regulated way. Let's say it is really important to have an active and informed role in the use and in the creation stage of the AI. And it is really important, again, to say that it should not be a substitute for human communication. On the contrary, it should foster social interaction. So the key, let's say, result of these surveys is that that it's also really close to what we are discussing today, is that AI-based solutions for the education and training of vulnerable and disadvantaged groups can really pave the way to for us to remove the barriers for them in gaining and expressing new skills. And it is really important, when we are the co-creators, that we have a space to avoid harmful biases in the AI-based solution, so that they can really embrace all trainers and all learners. So this transformative element of AI in education is already quite evident. I think that the next presenter will also talk about this. But we have seen that it can provide us with a lot of new outlets, but at all times, it also necessitates a reevaluation of teaching methodologies and the role of the educators. And in the end, the way that we perceive education and the way that we perceive knowledge, because, we had a really interesting discussion at the Council of Europe on the regulation of AI in education, talking about how this is an opportunity for us all to include people in the classrooms, learners that have followed already independently, because of their own needs and their own processes, non-traditional ways of learning and achieving knowledge in a more creative and a more personalized way with the help of educators. But now we actually have tools that can really assist in that, and maybe help us envision a world that goes away of the banking model of education, that only sees learners as little piggy banks that we fill with knowledge, and then that's enough, and perceive a more critical element of education, now that the most strict and sterile part of education, let's say, can be avoided or can be enhanced. So to go through a mindful adoption of AI, of course, we need to understand what it is. So in here, we have a bit of a definition and a bit of a historical context on what is AI, what is artificial intelligence, as we said in the beginning, and at its simplest is the field in computer science that focuses on creating systems capable of performing tasks that would typically require human intelligence. And these tasks include learning, decision-making, problem-solving, and understanding of different languages. But how are these tasks carried out? They're carried out by processing huge amount of data and learning from that data through processes that we call machine learning or deep learning, if that's something that you have heard around. If you haven't, you can follow our course, and we're sure that you will understand at the end of it a little bit more on that. So let's keep in mind that AI is not magic. It's not something that acts independently. It always has to do with the choices that we make as the humans behind it, and the data that we use in training, let's say, this machine that thinks for ourselves and not for itself. So AI learns from the data, and best case scenario, it learns the information that the data possesses. So what that means is that, do you have enough data? The AI, if you don't have it, the AI won't work well. If they're unclean, the AI will not understand that these data are not clean. If they're wrong, the AI will learn that too. So it's really, really important that we are aware of what we train the AI models with, what we use to do that, and what our positioning in how the AI is created is. There are, of course, many ethical considerations in the use of AI, especially because of the presence of unfair and prejudiced outcomes in the decisions or predictions made by the models. And these biases, of course, have to do when we're talking about centralized and corporate AI, by the fact that they are using big data sets that are, of course, as our societies, imbalanced and unrepresentative. There are unintentional assumptions by the algorithm design, following, of course, historical data that have been most evidently with more oppressive or mainstream or exclusionary systems. And of course, there might be also unintentional algorithm user design interactions that has to do with how we design the AI as developers. But of course, there are several instances at this time in the EU to regulate this. We have GDPR, we have the AI Act. The Council of Europe will be announcing soon the full regulations for AI. The first version is already available, but based on the experts' review that was done at the end of October this year, I will tell you that this will go further, and there is a specific also part in how to use AI and how to regulate AI in education on using AI with students and learners with disabilities. I don't know if I think my camera is blurred, but I will try to unblur my background to show you which publication you can look for from the Council of Europe. It's Artificial Intelligence in Education. There are some really, really interesting things here on a critical view through the lens of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law in education and AI. So that's another idea if you want to have a bit more of a look. And let me see if I can then, yes, go back. And of course, all of that's the theory and that's the background. So what did we actually do with all that information? We created some spaces and some tools to explore and navigate these scenarios. First of all, we created a methodological guide on how to engage with AI, how to get involved with AI, have a bit more of an understanding on the ethical, let's say, considerations, the most prominent ethical considerations based on also the tools that we have, the legal tools that we have as members of the EU. And you will also see a bit of a guideline on how to actually get useful and representative data from your users and from your contexts. In this, to help educators link their experiences, we have also created an online scenarios repository where our educators have used our tools, have gone through the process of engaging with our learning course, and then they have engaged in using AI in the classroom, and they're sharing their experiences and how they could use the tools in real life, either those being the tools of the project, but also other AI tools that we are recommending through the toolkit that I'm going to present in just a bit. The second, and let's say biggest part of this project, for which I will make a parenthesis for this specific project, is the AI for All matching tool. As I said, we are working with adults. So what we did is that we tried to create a user app where people can go and talk to us about their life experience, work experience, educational experience. And what we do is that based on the data that we have received by the target groups that we're working with, meaning mainly migrants, people in confinement, meaning people in prisons and corrective facilities, and also people with no prior working experience. What we try to do is create a filtering system, a matching system that's basically by telling us what you do, by choosing from some options or writing your own. We try to provide you with an understanding of what this could mean in terms of skills. And this was done deliberately because we see that sometimes it's harder for people that do not believe that they have enough of an experience to comment on their skills to actually do it. So we did that for them by using DIDSCOMP and the ESCO framework, the European Framework for Skills, Competencies and Occupations, and Digital Competencies, that is. So we use those frameworks that have analyzed some key skills and competencies as well as career paths. And we use that to create these lists that you could see. And you could say, oh, I have used the computer, as you see here. And there is also a bit of an explanation what that would mean. And we try to play around with that. So that's one point. That's what the users see. The most important point of this matching tool is what the educators see. And this is where, in order to have access to, you will need to contact us. I will show you the links and the registration form soon. You will need to contact us in order to get access to it because you will need to sign the data processing agreements with us. So the educators get all the content that the users put in, and they have the opportunity to data exports. If you can see it here, I know it's quite small. So they can export all those data, visualize those data, and then use them in order to see, okay, what does the experience of the people that we have in our training centers tell us, what do these people want to do? Because another option in our app is to choose what you would like to do. So the educators also see that, and that way they can personalize the way that they provide the educational material and they provide the content for the next steps. Another really interesting element of this app is that you can create at any stage of it a CV that shows you your skills, your life path, the processes that you need to see. And we've seen with the users that we have actually used it with that this was really motivating in order for them to see, oh, this is quite a big list, and I have done quite a lot of things myself, equally important from the level of education, work, and my personal life path. So there are many elements in it. Of course, we have the step-by-step guides. We will have soon the full publication of how this works. I am sorry that you're not able to, at this time, synchronously be with us for our trainings, but something that I forgot, if you visit our wiki, of course, all of this is available in our website, aiforall.eu. I can tell you exactly where to find everything. If you visit our wiki, we have made available the capacity building webinars that we carried out. So already from there, you can get an idea of what we've been doing and how to use a little bit the tools better. If you want some people to give a bit of a breath of fresh air in that and not being alone in the process. And I am going to finish all of this with our training, our self-paced learning path for educators, where we took all of this, we compiled it, and we tried to make it as accessible as possible for the educators that want to use our tools in any facility and capacity. So to do that, we start from understanding AI fundamentals. We talk about ethical and responsible AI use. We then talk about basics in implementation. So understanding AI fundamentals is more of the computer science end of things. And then starting with AI is basics on implementation in the classroom. We then have a course on using the AI for all matching tool. And we then go to digital competencies for educators and citizens. And we finish with the AI for all scenario repository, and where we encourage you to also let us know how you use AI, also follow the forum and be part of the community. In that, and with this finishing what we are doing or have done already in the AI for All project, which will be finishing in February 2025, is that this project encouraged us to take a next step and actually submit for a new proposal that has its focus on people with cognitive impairments, autism, and ADHD, where we will try to link what we have done, especially in terms of the matching tool and skills assessment, to long-term unemployment for people with cognitive impairments, autism, and ADHD. So this will be coming. This is not the primary target group of this matching tool, but hopefully if our submission through the European Social Fund is successful, we might have something more to talk about as a group in the future. So thank you very much. I hope I did not exceed my time. And of course, if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to listen to them. Here, very, very important, I did not talk about it. Please have a look at this QR code. I will add the link to the chat, but you can already scan it and register to our to receive the invitation to join our matching tool. All of the rest is available through our website, ai4all.eu. It's really simple, but for the matching tool, again, because of the data processing agreement, we need a little bit more time. So if you want, you will have to register, and then you will receive an email to have access to the actual tool. So thank you very much, and I will stop sharing my screen to hopefully see some faces and open the Q&A.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I think that it was really interesting to see such innovative tools and resources being shared. We already had some questions in the chat.
Lovely.
One of them is, in what ways can AI enhance personal contact?
So that's actually something that we saw as a comment multiple times, and the most prominent answer for some of our educators was that it can be a way to cut back time of sharing the most, let's say, boring elements of the knowledge, like the historical facts, the more structured facts, in order to encourage dialogue. So it is perceived as a way to, facilitate the first steps of education, the gaining of the knowledge, to then encourage more timely solutions in order to get people discussing, actually talking and critically thinking about the information face to face. So this is what we've seen that at this point helps the most. But what we have also seen is that it can facilitate for migrants, for example, a first, let's say, first discussions with the new language, so that then they can be more confident and go into the classroom and discuss with, the actual human beings, because it eradicates this first element of shyness when you're not too sure about the way you talk, the way you speak, the way that you formulate in a new language, and several other cases that hopefully will be by February all online in our wiki shared by our educators and learners.
Good. I hope that answers your question. And the second question is also from Vasiliki Kaisa. If you could please share the title, better written maybe, of the EU publication concerning
Yes,
AI in education.
absolutely. I will put it in the chat. It's the artificial intelligence. Oh, let me show it again to you. It's artificial intelligence in education and education. It's as simple as that. And it is from the Council of Europe, but I will write it down so that you can fully see it.
I think it would be great to have it in chat for anybody that wants to consult that. Do we have any other questions about this presentation? Maybe somebody would like to join live. Feel free to raise your hand or join in. We did have a lot of comments about the presentation, that it was very interesting and great.
Happy to be here. So whenever, if you want to reach out, I had it in the thank you section, but of course you can email me even personally. I will write my email in the chat if you wish to.
That would be great for all participants.
Thank you so much.
In this case, if nobody wants to join in live and I don't see any other questions in the chat, there was one question about the previous presentation about the ISEC-ADE training. And I think the question was, how can participants join the training?
Yes, thank you, Andrea. I saw that question, also wanted to explain a little bit about the trainings. So the trainings are ongoing, but they are an activity conducted in all the partner countries. This was a question by Ivana Vasilevska, I think, as a colleague of ours. So in North Macedonia, the training is done by several trained educators, special educators, teachers, and so on, which have the role to train people in their own organizations, in their own communities. We had people from the special elementary school with a resource center in Nina. We had a teacher, a special educator from the elementary school Pestalozzi. Also from the St. Cyril and Methodius school in the municipality of Centar. Sorry, and several other trainings are still ongoing, but for people outside of these communities, we will, of course, organize online trainings in the upcoming period where everyone interested can enroll. This is for North Macedonia, but I also encourage everyone, if they're interested, to contact the other partner organizations in Greece, in Bulgaria, and also in Cyprus, to see about upcoming opportunities for training on the Teach Space and Teach Hub tools. You will have the opportunity to meet and join the panel discussion later with representatives from each organization, and they can share information about this for the future steps concerning the training. Thank you for that question.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your answers. And I think that we can move on further with the agendas. I don't see anybody else wanting to join the discussion. Next, we have a video presentation of the EAEA program for people with disabilities aimed at integrating people with disabilities into the job market by Dr. Iatrou Georgios, mental health counselor at the Department of Scientific Documentation and Education at the Child and Adolescent Centre. If you have questions for this presentation, I would like to ask you to please type them into the chat, but also include your email address. Dr. Georgios has kindly agreed to respond to the questions after the conference, and we can forward them to him and share his responses with you.
Hello, my name is Georgios Iatrou. I am a mental health counselor and psychotherapist and coordinator in European programs in the Scientific Documentation and Education Department of the Child and Adolescent Centre. And today I will briefly present you a particularly innovative program with very encountering results, which we are organizing in collaboration with Science for You. The program, titled People with Disabilities, Pioneers in Artificial Intelligence, is supported by the Ioannis Latzis Public Benefit Foundation and Metlen. Our project aims to train people with disabilities to use artificial intelligence tools with the ultimate goal of connecting and integrating them into the labor market. The program began in March 2024 with the training of trainers and therapists. So 8 individuals were trained in annotation, so they could in turn train 12 individuals with disabilities. Specifically, 8 individuals and 8 people with autism spectrum disorder and 4 individuals with psychiatric disorders underwent a 3-month training program in annotation across 3 different distinct projects that included text, sound, and image conversions. The results were highly encouraging, especially for those with autism who have lower level of support needs and for people with psychiatric disorders, as all 8 of them successfully completed the training, demonstrating both capability and motivation. However, individuals with moderate to high support needs level of autism showed significant challenges in participating, and the supervisory demands on therapists and trainers for this group were relatively high. The results indicate that high functioning individuals with autism and people with psychiatric disorders are strongly motivating to work in annotation. This experience is often their first exposure to a work environment and offers them a foundational sense of professional identity. They also derive satisfaction from completing their tasks and feel a strong sense of purpose and utility in the work. These 8 trained individuals have now moved to the second phase of the project, which started a month ago, and they are now employed by companies that have expressed interest in hiring them. Our next goal is to expand to other categories of people with disabilities and to further scale and ensure the sustainability of the project. Additionally, we are collaborating with new organizations that have greater capacity and diverse backgrounds, and we are already studying a new category of disabilities and the potential that it offers. And I am referring to people with mobility impairments. That's enough. Thank you very much. I hope you found this information interesting. And of course, I am available for further communication and new collaborations. I wish you success with yours today's event. Thank you very much.
So that was the video presentation. As you could hear, Dr. Iatrou Georgios is very open to collaboration and open to answer any questions that you have. I'll repeat this once again. Just type any questions that you might have in the chat, and we will make sure to forward them to him. I think that we can move on with our agenda. Our next speaker is Eleftheria Stergiou, who will share trainer reflections from the TOT program in Cyprus. This presentation will highlight a first-hand experience, so I hope that it will be interesting for everyone. And once again, feel free to either type questions in the chat during your presentation or join live after the end of the presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning to all. My name is Eleftheria Stergiou. I'm a computer science teacher, and for the last 20 years, I have been working with children with special learning difficulties, and more specifically with autism. Participating in this Erasmus Plus project was a valuable eye-opening experience, especially as an IT specialist working with children in special education. One of the best parts of this experience was working with a group of different fields and different countries, such as special education teachers, psychologists, and other educational professionals. Each of us brought ideas and strategies from our own backgrounds, and this allowed it to us to approach the challenges from multiple perspectives. Personally, for me, this Erasmus Plus experience reinforced my belief that the technology can make learning more accessible for every student. This project not only added to my knowledge, but also inspired me to continue to find creative solutions that empower students with special educational needs, helping them to gain confidence, independence, and skills for the future. I'm grateful for this opportunity and excited to apply everything I have learned to future projects. I would like to thank once again DADAA for giving me this opportunity to participate in this project, and I hope that in the future we can improve this project with other ways. I would be personally interested to represent. I would be personally interested in representing this software to other colleagues in special education in my city. Thank you for this experience.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience with the project. We're glad that you participated. And if anybody has any questions or comments, they can feel free to either tap them in the chat or they can join the discussion live. I see some questions thanking you for your involvement with the project and congratulating you on it. But other than that, I don't think I see any specific questions. If anybody would like to join live, they can do so now. If not, then I think that we can move on with the agenda. Thank you so much once again for sharing your experience. Next, we can move on to a more interactive part of the conference. We will have a panel discussion. Joining us today are representatives from the ISEC-ADE team, and I'd like to shortly introduce all of the panelists and their professional profiles. The panel will be joined by Angela Winstanley, who is a head trainer consultant specializing in autism within operations management and care services. With a social work background and a degree-level qualification in operations management, she boasts 24 years of senior-level experience. Relocating to Cyprus in 2012, Angela has been a freelance trainer delivering management and autism training across the UK, Cyprus, Croatia, and North Macedonia, and the UAE. Angela's holistic approach reflects a deep commitment to advancing autism awareness and education, making a substantial impact in both local and international contexts. Next, we have Kaisa Vasiliki, who has graduated from the LEA Foreign Applied Languages Department in Multiplier 3, a postgraduate diploma in sociology, social change, exclusion process, and integration dynamics. Also obtained a diploma in pedagogical training from the ASPETE. Worked as a teacher in foreign languages, French and English, and as partner in 2 research projects at the University of Athens, EKPA, and the Educational Policy Institute, IEP, on the education of Muslim Greeks of Thars. Currently working as a researcher, educator in European social projects and in career and vocational orientation, counseling for vulnerable social groups. Next, we have Vasiliki Tsekoura, who holds a postgraduate degree Master in Education in Educational Policy and Social Exclusion, and a Certificate of Specialization in Training in Psychological Tests and Measurements by the University of Ioannina at the Department of Economics and Social Policy. She has been in the scientific coordinator of curricula concerning the training of instructors in secondary education on pedagogics and new technologies. She's certified profile pass counselor and trainer of counselors. Then our next panelist is Ivana Vasilevska Petrovska, Master of Arts, and who is an education and rehabilitation specialist in autism and intellectual disabilities. Her current roles include researcher, trainer for Autism Institute and Macedonian Scientific Society for Autism, and expert associate for Idnina Elementary School with Resource Center, providing external support to mainstream schools, teachers, and teaching assistants. Previously, she taught in elementary special education for 10 years, followed by working as a special provision teacher for autism and sensory integration disorders. I'm not sure if Angela Yotova has joined us today. She was supposed to be part of the panel, but I do not think that she is here. And finally,
hello, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. So Angela Yotova is the director of the Center for Special Education Support at the School of Children with Special Needs, Dr. Peter Baran in Vidin in Bulgaria. I'm so excited that we're going to have such a panel discussion. We will try to focus on some takeaways, maybe helpful recommendations and insights from the ISEC-ADE project. I will try to facilitate the conversation with some questions, but if any of the participants and listeners have any types of questions at any point, you can please feel free to type them in the chat or raise your hand and you can join live. So I'd like to start us off with the first question, which is, we have all heard of physical accessibility. What does physical accessibility mean for autism and intellectual disability?
This will be in sort of a continuation from my presentation, mentioning that there are multiple domains of accessibility when we are talking about autism and intellectual disabilities. Physical accessibility is very wide known, and when we think about what is physical accessibility, we mostly think about access for wheelchairs and adjusted toilets and things like this. But for autism and intellectual disabilities, physical accessibility means that the tools and the content is accommodated to the various sensory and cognitive and communication needs. We have compiled a very comprehensive list of recommendations for teachers and developers that can make things easier for them when they try to provide, to create these kinds of tools. And there are so many things to consider, but I will try to summarize the most important of them. They can be as simple as selection of the color palettes, to be mindful to include an option for a high contrast and a low contrast to accommodate for the contrast sensitivity. Then it's important to avoid using elements that can distract or interfere with the focus and attention of the students, of the learners. For example, to avoid textured backgrounds. Some moving images that don't have an important role, or they are just purely for decoration. Any other decorative elements and any other visual or auditory elements that do not convey important information, but they are purely for aesthetical reasons there. We want to keep things plain and simple. This is also true for the font that is used. It should be plain, accessible, sans serif at best. For example, Arial font for ease of readability. Also, the size of the font is important. Smaller sizes or larger size fonts. For example, large fonts may make the page appear cluttered and overwhelming and difficult to read. But on the other hand, small font sizes may be illegible for some users. So it's important to consider what is the best option for the user. We recommend that you completely avoid using the color red for accents as well as the black for body text. Instead, it's recommended that you use some alternative like soft pink or darker pink shades and blue and navy. So to avoid this connotation with red as being too powerful, too aggressive color. What else can we say? For the auditory aspect, we need to avoid disturbing and explosive sounds like fireworks or sirens that can be used sometimes as a feedback or after a completed task or assignment. The volume control is also important. Digital tools have to provide a possibility for volume control to adjust the volume of the audio content, including the option to turn off the sound completely, which these options should be separate from the overall system settings. What else can we say? It's important to provide a simple and secure way to log in for the user to make things easy to use and operate. It's important, we found from our focus group discussions that the access is open without a fee, because this is a very important barrier for some of the participants and some of the students. And also it's very important to provide language localization, that the tools and the content is available in the native language, and it's culturally appropriate for the student. Many more recommendations can be found in the report, in the focus group discussion report, but I think this covers the most important ones, and my colleagues can fill in if I left out something.
Just one thing, I don't know if I missed you saying it, Ivana, but thinking about the background to pages, I think is important to recognize that white can glare. And if you can find a soft color, and it needs to be a soft color, to use just to diffuse any glare in the background on slides, then that would be quite helpful, I think, to aid concentration and focus.
Yes, definitely.
And of course, the external environment, it's not just all about what's going on the screen. It's having the screen in the right place, if you see what I mean, so that there aren't distractors around the student, and bits of flappy paper and all sorts of things around them, clutter. So for the environment where they're working, to be as clutter-free and clear as possible, I think, and as quiet as possible.
Thank you so much for your answers. Would any of the other panelists like to join in, maybe add something? I think in that case that we could move on. Then in the presentations, we mentioned multiple domains of accessibility. How can we know whether a resource is intellectually and socially accessible for autism and intellectual disability?
Should I go with this one as well?
You start.
Okay. In addition to the physical accessibility, we have to consider the content, the intellectual aspects and the social aspects, of course. In this sense, it's important to make sure that the content is simple. And if there is some more complicated concepts, they need to be simplified in order to be on the level of the student with cognitive challenges or cognitive differences. This means that the language, first of all, needs to be plain, easy to understand, to avoid abstract terms or jargon. Also, it's very useful to break down information into small, manageable little chunks using visual aids along with the text, and to use the visuals to clarify the text when possible. This is a recommendation that goes for paper-based activities as well as digital, and it's something that we have to have in mind in communication with learners with cognitive differences at all times, not just using the digital content. But the digital format allows to include multimedia elements like images, videos, and audio, and they can help to convey the information in more than one format, catering to the diverse learning preferences or learning styles. I mentioned before, interactive elements can be distracting, but when they are used to support information, such as to prompt the user and to guide them through the instructions, they can help in understanding, and they can reduce the cognitive load of the task, for example. The social accessibility, on the other hand, requires that the content is relevant, is culturally relevant, personally relevant, and it's sensitive to the diverse backgrounds. This can be, for example, using the native language, avoiding some cultural specific references. When we are talking about something in the social context, we have to help with the understanding of the user or the learner who may struggle with implicit social cues, and we have to explain everything to provide clear explanations. And when we consider the autistic culture, we have to be mindful about using the symbols and imagery, such as the jigsaw puzzle, for example, and the language that we use to describe autism, which some communities may find demeaning or even insulting. There are different opinions and different preferences of how to refer learners with autism, and it's best that we that we adjust our language depending on the group that we are talking to, because different groups prefer different kinds of language, whether it is autistic learners or learners with autism, and so on. Vasiliki has something to add here.
Yes, I would like to say that to add more, that in order to make something understandable and accessible, we have to be sure that everyone, every learner, can really understand what we are talking or showing them. For example, it is best if we pair, for example, a written word with a picture or a sound, so that we are sure that everybody understands, or explain, as you said before, any kind of jargon or idioms, or maybe even vocabulary that we consider that is known by everyone. It may not be. It may be, the need may arise to explain everything, what do we mean, so that it is really, really accessible to anyone. No one can access something if they cannot understand what we are talking about. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything to add? I see a raised hand. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Andrea. Well, I will continue with the thoughts of my colleague Vasiliki, that we need to be inclusive
on what we are offering to our learners, and speaking from the part of the broader community, because we are not experts in autism. On the other side, we are here because we want to socialize what we are developing in favor of the learners, but also their families and the educators. What we have understood, it is very, very important from the very beginning to have proceeded to a mapping of needs, of barriers, in order to prepare the more, let's say, inclusive and accessible content and technology. It's very, very important to getting into understanding your learners' needs from the very, very beginning. This is a kind of preparation in order to enhance the effectiveness of the technology used and the content to be culturally, socially appropriated. So in that case, we need the support of families, we need the cooperation and the collaboration of all parts. It is about what we have done in the first project about supportive network around the learners with autism and other cognitive disabilities. We need people to cooperate in favor of the inclusion and the empowerment of autistic persons with autism. That's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I saw in the chat that Angela Yotova has something to add. You can go ahead. You're just muted. We can't hear you. Yeah. Can you please unmute your microphone?
Yes.
Okay. It's fine.
I'm very glad that to our conference there is a lot of participants who have interested in our outcomes. I'm, as you mentioned before, a representative of Center for Special Education Support, which is some kind of new organization of special education, governmental education in Bulgaria. And how to say, it is very interesting as an organization because except educational process, we here provide also, we are giving possibility students for therapeutic services. What I would like to say about the project and our motivation to participate in it. Our motivation was to participate in the development of this, how to say, very heavy project, was to find an application of innovative methods in special education. This method that was developed in the project is empowering young people with special education needs and autism with new waves of modern technology, which is adapting quickly to a modern learning opportunities where digital reality and innovation in our society are leading. There were more learning objectives of this project. One of them was to provide young people with the new tools and abilities in managing technology, empowering digital skills in the line with the European strategies, to provide new educational opportunities for our students, and spread knowledge about special education needs students and autistic students and how to face it at school. We wanted to get knowledge in special education and its features, modern and digital education measures and tools. Development, we wanted to achieve competences in development and implementation of digital lessons in the line with the needs of students with SEN and autism. We wanted, and we think we achieved, competences in use of digital tools, competences in creative and critical thinking, and we empowered our students with empathy and with sensitivity of their classmates to our students. Also, it is interesting part of this project that we have an attitude of not judgmental attitude at class. And what is more important is that researchers find out that special education needs students and autistic students have difficulties in processing information, and they need teaching methods with new technologies. Technology provides education with entertainment elements, which raises the level of motivation and successful results of these students. Digital education makes the teaching process more attractive for the students, offering them visibility, which enables them to participate actively of being listeners and actors with low level of interaction. Technologies need the organization of new model of classwork environment in order to develop a safety, inclusive learning process. This modern kind of teaching should include not only lessons planning, assessment, and feedback, but a very important part in it must be safety and hygienic circumstances during the classroom process. The safety usage during the application of technology tools in the working process should include not only following the hygienic rules, but also circumstances concerning the mental health of the autistic and special needs students, and also, of course, their classmates too. So there are many areas of student safety and health that need to be considered while using digital tools as a part of the learning process. After studies by scientists and technicians, we could name the following aspects that must be controlled in order to conduct a safe learning process. One of them is health safety conditions. You mean all this electricity and so on. The other problem that we should avoid is the risk of discomfort from long sitting. You know, the young generation, knowing educated or not educated, they like very much technologies, and their everyday life is how to say, more developed in that sphere. The third risk is environmental issues, safety and freedom of movement. One interesting problem that we should have in mind is the age requirement of timing. Not all the education, not the day education process to be full of digital education methods, just to measure them in a proper way. Of course, important side is the ethics and the use of digital tools, and of course, behavior safety rules to avoid the installation. Technology is good. Digital education is today's way of modern life and is included in the work of environment, entertainment, games, etc. Educational research proves that it helps to better understand and motivate students. The digital technology is sufficient resource to help students overcome their learning difficulties, but the use of technology in human life always requires safety and health measures. So our product is very good, but we have we should have always in mind that we should care about their safety.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. And I think that on that maybe, so we talked about multiple recommendations, obviously, and ways for social accessibility. for physical accessibility, intellectual accessibility. But one question is, what are some strategies that we can use that can enhance learner engagement and motivation in these digital environments?
So can I have a go here?
Yes, of course.
It is in the sphere of the UDL practice and recommendation, universal design for learning, which in short means knowing your topic, the things that you are going to teach quite well, and try to make these things accessible to as many students as possible, regardless of their state of ability or disability. Well, the first aspect was to create a barrier-free environment, which was a question that was tackled before, how to make things more accessible, physically, socially, culturally, etc. So the first rule is to be sure everyone understands everything in your classroom, digital or a real one. The second is to really know your student. This is something that cannot be replaced by someone else. You have to know your students and know their strong points, their weak points, their interests, and their needs. So in this way, you can have a more personalized approach to every and each one of them. In this way, you can know what motivates, because every single person gets motivated by something different. Some people like, for example, like to learn things through music. Some other people like to learn things through other forms of art. Some people like to read things. Some people like to see videos. And you have to know and customize your lesson or the things that you want your learners to acquire to their needs. And in order to help them not feel really different, you have to put a choice, to give them a choice. And for example, provide the whole class with the same with one idea, one lesson, but with different options for them to choose. If they want to see it written, if they want to see pictures of it, if they want to see graphs, if they want to hear it, auditory books, for example. In this way, everyone stays motivated and engaged. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Would anyone like to add something?
Yeah, if I
Yeah, go ahead, Angela.
I would totally agree with what both Vaso and Vasiliki have said about the importance of key information and really knowing your student. And I would add to that, okay, we need to carry out a comprehensive assessment so that we know we can come to it from the perspective of that individual and see it from their point of view. And I think that's really, really important, they as individuals. And the other thing is ideally to include sensory assessment in that, because then we can create a platform for them which is going to meet their sensory needs and their visual needs, their auditory needs, etc. Plus, then we need activities which will motivate them. So finding activities which will include things that they're particularly drawn to, maybe sometimes obsessed with, okay. But to actually include those things within slides and presentations and avoid, this is where it's so important to know the student, we need to make sure that we avoid any triggers that might create anxiety for them by just looking at a color or an item or whatsoever. And to remember also that's important, and people often fall into this trap, Vaso mentioned choice, and she's absolutely right. We should include choice, but not to have too many choices, not to overload students with too many choices and too many visuals all at the same time. So that's my bit I'll add.
These were very important things that I can agree with, definitely, about the choices, and learners' interest definitely can significantly improve their engagement. Also, making clear what the learning objectives are for this learner, or whenever it is possible. It's very good that they are aware of what what the goal of this activity is, why is it relevant, and this helps maintain their focus and their motivation. Self-assessment, self-evaluation also can improve their sense of achievement. It can keep them focused and so on. This can be accommodated also for learners with, let's say, higher support needs. They can do the self-assessment using visual symbols and graphical elements and so on. It doesn't need to be very elaborate in terms of language and so on. Overall, I think that we have to accommodate to make sure that the activities are right, that the activities they incorporate this challenge that is not too easy and not too difficult. The goals are achievable. This is a concept called the zone of proximal development. Many special educators know this. This is a concept by Vygotsky, and it's very important to sustain motivation and keep the development in free of any frustration. And this can also be one of the triggers, as you mentioned, Angela, of for example, challenging behavior and so on, when the activity is not in this zone of proximal development. If it's too difficult, if it's too easy, it can be boring. If it's too difficult, it's frustrating, and so on. Positive reinforcement is also very important, especially in the students with higher support needs. There need to be strategies of positive reinforcement in place, allowing them to stay engaged and focused. In terms of TeachSpace and TeachHub, these tools incorporate different gamification elements that are in the form of badges and rewards and points for the learners. That they are also an element to engage, to encourage the engagement and keep them motivated in their task.
Yeah, we know that the token economy can be pretty motivating. We did get a question in the chat, which is that I have read somewhere that it's more challenging to learn in a style that's not their preferable way. What do you think about that? And I think this was addressed to Vasiliki, Kaisa based on the answer.
I think sorry.
Excuse me, Andrea, can you repeat the questions once more?
Yes, so I have read somewhere that it is more challenging to learn in a style that is not their preferable way. What do you think about that?
I would just like to say it is closely linked to what Ivana has said previously. But I think it's the same approach that we use for people with autism, the same approach that we use for the risk exposure. It doesn't mean that you always have to stay in your comfort zone. You have to make little and small steps towards this great new world outside. But you have to be very careful and really noting everything down on reactions, on conditions around you. And I think this goes as well for learning, for every learning experience.
I agree completely. And the zone of proximal development is just outside the comfort zone. Just one step outside.
Can I just say that, I mean, all of us have different learning styles which are preferred, naturally preferred, whether it be visual, auditory, kinesthetic, whichever it be. and no different for our students with autism spectrum conditions. And any of us find it more difficult to learn if we're not looking at or experiencing something that meets our learning styles. So that's the first thing I would say on that question. It's no different to anybody else. And again, we come back to knowing your student and which is their more effective and preferred method of learning. And doing a learning styles assessment might be very helpful. And it might also mean that you have to include a variety of different styles so as to keep them interested and motivated, and to find out in the first place which one motivates them most, and then to keep them motivated so you're not continually feeding them the same stuff all the time.
Thank you, everyone, for your answers. I hope this answers the question. If nobody has anything to add about that, I think we might have time for one other short question. We touched a bit on some of the answers about maybe some safety precautions and concerns. And sometimes we hear from people that there are some concerns about screen time, about social isolation, maybe fears that technology might replace traditional face-to-face interactions. There is some stigma about using the digital tools for autism. And I was wondering if you could share what you think parents and educators know about this issue.
Can I start here? I am completely aware, and working in this project for the past 3 years, we have been discussing this so many times, trying to first of all understand the stigma and the concerns that people have, parents and educators as well, that individuals may become over-dependent on the digital tools, that they are using too much screen time for children. In the case of autism, it's especially important due to their tendency to get really deeply absorbed in things, in activities, and then transitioning to offline activities can be even more challenging. However, we have to note that screen time does not cause autism. The key, I think also Angeliki mentioned this in her presentation, the key is to have a balanced integration of digital and face-to-face activities. And rather than viewing the digital tools as a replacement, we have to consider them as a complementary tool to additional methods. It's not that screens can cause autism, it's that screens may replace important face-to-face interactions, and in this way they can have negative effects for the development of children. So it's not so much about the time. Actually, it is about the time, but it's more about what they replace and what they are missing, and not what the time and the content of digital activity offers. We have to focus at the same time on the quality and make sure that the time that is spent on screen is for has some personal development goals and educational goals, and it's not just there is a difference between just scrolling, using social media, using short videos or reels, etc. So we also have to focus on the quality and the quantity. Parents should be also involved in the digital learning alongside the learners, and this way they can this can be an opportunity for interaction in real time, face to face, and they can be the ones that guide the parents and educators as well. They can be the ones to guide the learner with to use the tools properly. This can be the digital tools, the computers, the laptops, the smartphones can be a very important, very strong obsessive interest of some students with autism. And in this case, we have to make sure that, for example, the tool that we are using, the device, particularly that he or she is using, is used only for educational activities. Can you please mute?
Please just mute the microphones.
Okay, that's fine. It's helpful if the device is used only, for example, for teach space, and it's not used for YouTube and other types of activities. This can set some clear boundaries about what is the purpose of the device and what the learner can expect when using it.
Thank you so much. Vasiliki, would you like to add anything? I see the raised hand.
Yes, but I think Dimitris also has raised his hand before me. I'm not sure if he wants to talk.
I'm not seeing the hand. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Maybe he lowered it. I wanted to talk about the stigma aspect that you have mentioned in your question. If it's stigmatizing learners with autism, the use of digital tools, well, if everyone, it's once again the concept of universal design for learning. If everyone in the classroom uses these digital tools or has the choice to use these digital tools, then there's no stigma because if everyone shares it, then we don't have a special social group that is characterized by this behavior, let's say. Also, it's much more easy to use digital tools than physical tools. Meaning that if you want to make your learning, your teaching accessible to everyone in a physical way, you have to have props, you have to have, for example, costumes, you have to have recorders and or everything. But through digital tools, these things become more easy and more, let's say, environmentally friendly also, if we can say so. I would like to add something as a parent. I have a neurotypical and a neurodivergent child. So, but I saw that using some, let's say, neurodivergent strategies to my neurotypical child was also very helpful. It doesn't mean that if something is made for people with autism or for learners with autism, it doesn't mean that it's not appropriate for the rest of the population. Maybe they can be very helpful too. That's all.
Thank you. Do we have any final comments or remarks? I see another raised hand. You can go ahead. Does anybody have anything to add?
Please let Dimitri has
yes,
what he was thinking about.
I'm thinking that using digital tools is not something that we have to to say that we want or not want. It's something that is part of our life. It's part of our children's life, neurotypical or neurodivergent. And the issue now is to try to understand how to control the quality of what they receive and what they give through digitalization. We don't have the power to say that, okay, I give you that time in the day and you use that time. If the child wants to using digital tools and using in general being in the net in general, they will find the way to do it. And that's why from the first presentation from Angeliki Giannakopoulou, it's very interesting about artificial intelligence and what data we provide to artificial intelligence. And this is maybe a very crucial topic about autism also in the future. And another thing, last I wanted to share, sorry, I share all the thoughts from everything I heard. Another thing about how the autistic learn better is always to remember that we have to adjust in their tempo, in their rhythm. It's very, very important, and sometimes we forget it as educators or parents or from our role. Their tempo maybe sometimes solves the 8% of the communication problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing. Does anybody else have any final comments, remarks to add?
I would just like to add that this conference was a very important opportunity that we reach so many people that is not possible in the face-to-face interactions, or it's not so easily done to gather together so many people from different countries at the same time. We tried to answer some of the key questions based on our experience and based on the feedback of the users and participants in the previous activities, but we didn't get the chance to discuss everything there is to be said. There is also the important aspect of the competencies of educators, what kind of training they need, and I would like to go back a little bit regarding that question about continuation of training. And I can say for North Macedonia, for this area where Autism Institute works, we will definitely provide some additional opportunities for training, maybe different levels of training, more advanced ways to use Teach Space. And I would just like to invite everyone who might be interested in this kind of opportunity to follow the Facebook page of Autism Institute and stay informed about the future activities. And I'm sure this also goes for the other partners as well. I have to be honest, I am very proud and very happy with the results that we managed to create in the past 3 years, and I think we have produced a valuable tool that can surely have a big impact and can make things much better in the classrooms today. To prepare the students for the skills they need for tomorrow. And I would like to thank everyone involved, all the team members from ShipCon, from Cyclisis, from DADAA, from the Center for Special Educational Support, and of course the Macedonian Scientific Society for Autism. And I know we'll keep in touch and we will find opportunities to continue the collaboration in the future. And I would like to thank everyone for their participation today and their comments, and it's nice to see familiar faces.
Yes, thank you so much for that sort of final comment. Unfortunately, like you said, we don't have enough time to go over all of the key aspects, but I hope that this was really insightful to everyone that participated. I would also like to thank all of the speakers and all of the panelists and for taking part of the conference and sharing their perspective and their work. Before we finally close the conference, we would like to ask you to fill out an evaluation form. We will send you the link in the chat. It's already in the chat.
Here. And I will share a QR code if it's more convenient for people.
Yeah, that would be perfect. You can scan the QR code, fill out the evaluation form, and if you do require a certificate, We will ask you to fill out this form and just leave your name and your email address in it, and we will make sure to send you the certificate. Once again, you can access the evaluation through the QR code or the link. It's open, you can fill it out and indicate whether you need a certificate and leave your details. If that is all, then I would like to thank you all once again for actively participating throughout today's conference. I personally really enjoyed hosting such an incredible event. Hope that everybody that either spoke at the conference or was just simply followed through it, found it very insightful. And on behalf of the ISEC-ADE team, I would really like to thank you once again for joining us today. And I would like to wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you, Andrea. And thanks to our guest speakers, especially Angeliki. It was very nice to meet you and to hear the wonderful work that you're doing over there in the EAEA.
Thank you so much. It has been a great pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
You're doing an amazing job, I have to say.
There are some comments about sending the link again in the chat. You could please do that. I'm not sure if we can maybe pin a message if that's possible.
It's very important to make sure that everyone who requires the certificate saves this link or fill it in right away. It's not a long form. I'm not sure if there is any other way that we can share it. I think this would be, this will cover all the participants here.
Yes, that would be great. So you can just copy the link from the chat, make sure that you have it. And otherwise, once again, thank you all for attending this conference.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.